It seems that Britain is facing an obesity epidemic, as recent government statistics estimate that by 2025, 41% of people in the UK will be obese. However, activists have started campaigning here in the UK to have discrimination against fat people made illegal, just as it is in parts of the US. The International Size Acceptance Association says that legislation similar to the UK disability access laws should be introduced, such as cinemas and restaurants having to provide larger seats and doctors having to respect the wishes of patients who do not want to discuss their weight. So, are they right? Is it time to clamp down on discrimination of the fat?
Well, I don't think we need a law against it, and if there is one, if there is going to be one, then I think there needs to be one for thin people also, because, you know, people always think it's OK to have a go at people who are too thin, as they think they are, but it's not OK to say anything about people who are overweight, you know, like you can't really even say the word fat. But I do actually think, and I know and I understand that there are people out there who really don't have any control over their weight because of health problems or what, but they are in the minority. And I think that if we really, really start to, and I'm not saying make excuses, but accept the fact that people are going to be obese as a normality and make arrangements for it, I think we've got terrible problems ahead, because, you know, people do say, I'm happy being big, I'm happy being overweight, I'm happy with my size, and maybe some people are. I think the majority of people are not, and it's not a natural state for most people. Most people are overweight or fat because they simply can't make the equation between the amount of energy that they consume and the amount of energy that they use. And it really is simple. We are quite sedentary these days. People drive everywhere, people don't really do a lot of manual work, so you don't need that much food. And people can't understand that, so they get fat and they get obese, and it's not healthy. And I think there's huge problems ahead if people don't start to accept
Well, if you look at the predictions, by 2025, 41% of us will be officially obese, so there are huge problems ahead, quite literally.
A lot of people say obese when you're just a little bit above overweight. That annoys me. I hate the word fat. I hate it. I think it's just wrong. I think I've got friends that would absolutely love not to be the size that they are. And what I've noticed is that really to do it, you have to dig deep and focus, and it's not easy to just go, oh right, you know, I'm going to stop eating, because like we've said, sometimes it is an addiction, and you know it's caused through depression, through bullying, etc. You know, I do think yes, and I think people should be more wary of their health, and you can not eat so much. But I also think that, you know, sometimes big people would like to go and see a film, and they can't because you know, they can't sit in the seat. And we'll talk to Charlie about that. But I also think that, I don't know, I think there should be some sympathy. But I do disagree with the fact that if they don't want to talk about their weight to the doctor, then they don't need to. No, you need to talk about your weight. If you want help, you have to do it.
I mean, also, I suppose the problem that doctors have is that they have to respond to budgets that are set by the government, and obesity, if it continues at this rate, will be a huge drain on national resources. And already is, actually.
But not just for that, though, for people in themselves. You know, if you've got low self-esteem and you continue to punish yourself by keep eating and eating and eating, your self-esteem is going to get worse.
You shouldn't get that far. That's the point. The government goes on and on about eating habits, you know, and we should all be eating healthier. And I'm with Carol, absolutely. Of course, it's awful if you've got a real problem with your weight, and we're talking obese, obese, obese. But what seems to happen is that's a minority. It's a very few people who reach that level. Yeah. You can't keep changing the majority society to accommodate, because actually it's encouraging people then. It's terrible if you can't go to a cinema, I agree, but actually you could say, well, you can get a video, or you can't change the whole of way the majority of people live. And that whole thing about, you say, about thin, about fat, about discrimination, it gets to a point where nobody's helping. Everybody's so nervous about anybody. And bullying, we've all been bullied. That's a fact of life. You've got to get on with your life. You've got to be strong. It's terrible being hungry. Believe me, it was terrible giving up drinking. You know, but I did it.
But you have to take personal responsibility for yourself, don't you? And this is what they're saying. This is what it looks like to me, is you're taking away the responsibility of people to do something about it themselves. It's just like, oh, let's just make the seats bigger, and then it's all OK.
It's not. Strength. It takes strength, doesn't it?
And to give up alcohol, some people don't have it at all.
And you go to a doctor and you do get help. It's not just about eating, it's about... But then it becomes an illness when it gets to that point, Kate, and people need help. I'm all for that.
It's an illness, and they aren't equipped to deal with it without without supervision of a medical expert or a psychologist. A lot of it is emotional. We'll talk to Charlie about this, and I'm sure he'll enforce that. That for him, you know, a lot of people go, well, you know, just eat less. Sometimes it's not as cut and dry as that. People with thyroid problems who will have to resign themselves to being big for the rest of their lives. Because they've got no way of dealing with it physically or emotionally or with the help of drugs. So it's a big area to discuss, quite literally. And if you want to have